What's up, guys? Welcome back to another video. We got Yahoo Finance. The Bolt is back, guys. GM announced that the Chevy Bolt is coming back. It's under the Ultium platform. So they're taking the old version away because it never made any money for them, even though they sold like the most EVs they've ever sold was with the Bolt. They never made any money with that. So now they're revamping it, turning it into the new Bolt with the next gen Ultium battery platform, which is already outdated. And let's see what these Yahoo guys have to say about it.
And Praz, I want to start with you because you're looking at an EV car that's back from the dead.
The Bolt is back. The Bolt is
3 months after.
Yeah.
It was a short death. It was a short death.
Yeah. So today on the GM earnings call, Mary Barra, in the beginning of the call, said that the Chevy Bolt EV, which they said was ending production last quarter, is not coming back as a next gen model. Next gen.
Okay, there it is, the Chevy Bolt. So what would you rather have, the Chevy Bolt or a Model 3? So that's who they're competing with right now, the Chevy Bolt or the Model 3.
And by the way, is a corporate buzzword, which we will get to later. Anyway, it's called the next gen Bolt EV. It's going to come back. Like I said, going to be powered by the Ultium battery platform, which is, according to GM, going to be a cheaper platform from the build on. The new car I imagine, will likely be in that same $30,000-ish price range, because that's where the Bolt made its money, right? It is a cheap EV for the masses, and GM sold more than they ever have in the last 2 quarters. So it was surprising to see it go, but I'm not surprised to see it come back.
What's interesting to me is the number that GM threw out, which is 70% of drivers who trade in a vehicle to get the Bolt traded a non-GM vehicle. At the end of the day, when you think about the EV transition, it is about GM trying to appeal to a wider swath, right? We're at 5% market share right now in terms of new buyers, EV sales. GM is the name, as well as Ford, that's supposed to get it to a much wider spectrum. So not only is it people who are buying in on
GM and Ford are going to get it to a much wider spectrum, not Tesla. Okay. It seems like all these news people are against Tesla. It's just really funny to hear they're biased for Ford and GM, because Ford and GM advertise, and obviously they're going to have affinity for them. Tesla doesn't give them ad dollars. So they encourage to not talk about Tesla as much as possible.
On GM, who usually wouldn't. It's also the price point. And that's why it's interesting that just 3 months after the fact, they're bringing it back.
Yeah, and what do you think the price point will mean for a company like Tesla, especially since we're seeing these pricing wars occur? I'm curious, did Tesla have any stock reaction after the news broke with GM?
I didn't see any reactions to that. I know that the Model 3, if you include the federal tax credit, is like 33,000.
Well, I mean, that's the key, right?
So that's competing in that same class. And right now, I think GM thinks that if they need to compete against the Tesla Model 3, they got to make the Bolt better, and that might include that Ultium platform.
Well, and we're talking.
Yeah, so that's the thing right there. I'm gonna keep going, but let me talk to you guys. It has to compete with the Model 3. That's why it's so hard for the Bolt to compete. There was somebody on my block with a Bolt, and I was like, I have a Model 3 and a Y, but you think like for $3,000 more, I could get the Model 3 than the Bolt. It's like, it's way better. It's so much better in every way possible. It's the Model 3 is better, and GM's gonna have a really tough time getting people to not get a Tesla Model 3 or even a Y. Like you can get the Y down to a pretty reasonable price range as well. So if you're ready in the market for an electric car, and you're thinking about test driving the Bolt, and then you test drive the Model 3 or the Model Y, it's like such an easy decision, because it's just so much better in every way possible. So they're gonna have a really tough time competing. I don't know who you would only pick the Bolt if you were purposely not trying to buy Tesla. If you had something against Tesla or Elon, you don't want to support them, that's the only reason why I'd see you buying the Bolt instead of the Model 3. But yeah, they're going to have a tough time.
Talking about $7,500 tax credit, that's federal, but if you've got states, which I always like to bring up, because in California it's $7,500 on top of that. I mean, that is a steep discount when you think about a Model 3, which is why you see them everywhere in California and many other states too, right? So GM is going into that market trying to compete. It is about a lower price point, and I'm curious, if we're talking 5% to get to 10%, where is that market? Is it in sort of these trucks, you know, the F-150 Lightning, these other trucks that
are... So hold on, before she goes too far. So she was saying that there's a steep discounts. That's why you see the Model 3 and Y everywhere in California. That's not the only reason why. The biggest reason why you see them everywhere in California is because, not just because of the discounts, it's because it's the better product. The better product's always going to win. We see it with cell phones, with computers, with everything that we have. The better product always comes to the top. And once you compare a similar gas-powered car to an electric car, you see that the electric car is just so much better. And if it's the same price point, and if it's a Tesla, there's so many things that are better. So the market is going to go to the better thing, no matter who makes it, no matter what it is. If it's better, they're going to do it. So that's the biggest reason why you see so many in California and all over the world. The Model Y is the best selling car in the world because of that reason. People are starting to see, they're test driving it, they're seeing it on their block, they're seeing their neighbors have it, their cousins, their family members, and they're seeing that it's just better than a gas car. So that's like the biggest thing everyone's missing here, is that when the big reason why Apple and Android are so popular, it's because they're better than the rest. They're better than Blackberries and Windows phones and all the other stuff that came before it. It's because it's just the best thing. So the best thing is always going to win.
Are selling at a higher price point, or is it on the lower end from drivers who are saying, I don't want to be paying gas prices, but I also don't have $70,000 to buy a new car?
I think if we're going to get even past 10%, it's got to be at that lower end. The middle class buyer that wants to go into electrics, when right now they're being priced out. They don't have that many options aside from the Bolt, which they're getting rid of, right? So that's going to come online. I think you're right.
The Leaf. You forgot about the
Leaf. The Leaf. With the Leaf, I don't think it's competitive in terms of range, but I think you're right. I think trucks too, because trucks are such a huge. The biggest market in America is trucks. If you can make those trucks cheaper and good range, maybe that's what it is.
I mean, we're seeing EV adoption pick up across the board. So I'm very curious to see the sales for those Bolts.
Well, they don't. Yeah, the sales for the Bolt. We could look up the sales for the Bolt from last quarter, but man, yeah, the Bolt is coming back. I still don't think it's gonna do anything because, you know, it's their best seller, the Bolt, in terms of EVs, and if they could make it at a profit, it would be helpful for GM. But they've never made the Bolt at profit. And they don't really release those numbers. It's all speculation. But I really wish that they would release their margins for these electric vehicles, because they're coming out with a lot. They said they're coming out with a lot of models. It's supposed to be like 3 or 4 or 5 new models coming out this year. So we're going to see if they can make them at scale and make them at a profit. Then they might stand a chance, but they don't have over-the-air updates. They don't. Their software isn't there. They don't have full self-driving. There's a lot that's lacking with GM, and making them at scale and at a profit is going to be a huge hurdle. The model, like the Bolt, is competing with the Model 3 on price. I don't know who the hell would rather get a Bolt than a Model 3. Like you've got to be crazy to do that. So, and it's showing in the numbers, in the sales numbers. It's showing the Model 3 and the Model Y are outpacing the Bolt, and then they're in the same ballpark. It's just a ridiculous uphill battle for GM. They got to make it way better, or at least as good as the Model 3, which is, I don't know. GM, I don't know if they have it, but I want to see the new design of the Bolt, because this is the old design. And comparing that to a Model 3, man, the Model 3 is so much cooler and it's better in every way. So GM's got a tough time. What do you guys think of the Bolt returning? There's no date. There's not even a 3D render mock-up thing they have. They just said it on their earnings call. Mary Barra just said it out loud. So what do you guys think of the Bolt? Do you think it's going to have a chance to compete with the Model 3? Would you rather get a Bolt than a Model 3 for $3,000 more? Let me know in the comment section down below. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. 97% of you guys are not subscribed. What is going on, guys? Sub to the channel. We could be at 1,000 subs already, but these good videos are going to come out all the time, very often. So sub to the channel if you want your Tesla news, stock news, the stock today Let's check the stock real quick. Tesla stock is at 265. All right, so it's hovering around 265. It went down a little bit, but yeah, it's at 265. Year to date, it's up 146%. So yeah, guys, the stock is doing all right now. Let me know your thoughts. Sub to the channel. Come on, let's go. All right, guys, I'll see you next time. I'm out of here. Peace.